Hi, welcome to Wilson Bridge. My name is Brian Drew, Senior Strategist at Wilson Advertising.
And I'm Devin Meister, Content Director.
And today we're going to be talking about a study that was recently done by Heinz Marketing regarding marketing automation platforms and satisfaction regarding marketers' use of those platforms. And it's a common topic on Wilson Bridge to talk about MarTech and that massive growing landscape in conjunction with how marketers stay true to being marketers and build the value of their brand. And we're going to go over the key findings of the study by Heinz. But one of the overlying themes seems to be attribution and return on the investment of the platforms and reporting that comes after it, right?
That's right. Heinz Marketing and InsightSquared did a survey of 410 marketers that used some of the most popular marketing automation platforms, otherwise known as MAPs, throughout this conversation here. They also did a webinar hosted by Brian Hansford and Joe Chernov, which are pretty big names in the marketing industry. So it's really interesting because they sort of align with a lot of our thoughts of customer engagement, but then going into branding as well. One of the first findings they had was that analytics is most important and that marketers are least satisfied. So it's most important under consideration when they're purchasing the platform, and they're least satisfied with the performance of the analytics as they go forward.
And so what's happening there? So they really expect the most out of reporting, and I suspect that has a lot to do with the fact that analytics and reporting post-marketing campaign activity is how you have the data or the information to tie it back to revenue and growth, right?
Right.
And a lot of the experienced marketers that want to be accountable for revenue, the senior leadership that wants to step up to that level, they're having a little bit of a difficult time going from marketing automation to this is how we're actually growing the company.
Yeah, so like 10 years ago when the maps came out, it was like, yeah, we'll be able to attribute revenue to this. And then
Right.
10 years ago, the marketers grabbed these things and they say, yeah, we're going to be able to attribute revenue. Now they got to see at the table. Now the C-suite's asking for where's the revenue coming from? What can we assign this to? And they're really struggling with the analytics getting beyond the marketing controlled metrics like click-throughs and email performance, things like that.
Correct.
Yeah. The other finding was that the maps are basically just focused on marketing metrics, and the senior marketers aren't getting that deeper attribution that they really need to tie these to sales, to get to the pipeline, to get past the handoff to where is marketing really driving a difference in the company.
But so, one of the things that a lot of marketers think about, and I think this is an important topic, is return on investment. So everybody wants to know what their marketing ROI is. And I've talked with CFOs and finance executives who've said, it's not that the marketing automation platform's not doing its job. It's that maybe marketing ROI is bad finance, that maybe that's not really good math. So, for example, marketing is an expense on the income statement, right? It's not an asset on the balance sheet. While calculating the return on something is a fairly simple mathematical equation, the variables that go into that equation, there can't be any confounding factors to those variables. It has to be pretty straightforward. So assets either grow, right, or decrease, and you can easily calculate a return on that. If marketing and the expenditures on marketing are really an expense, is it fair to look at it as what's the return? And I think it's important. What I mean by confounding factors is, well, how much does a campaign really drive revenue? Can you actually calculate that? Are there other reasons why someone might have converted? Is there an association with the brand? Has sales been working that transaction before the campaign? Are there other reasons for the conversion or the activity that directly correlate to revenue? And how do you properly tie that back to each individual piece of marketing that might have influenced that? I think that marketers should be more focused on creating brand value, going to the balance sheet. The asset that marketers are responsible for in corporate finance is goodwill, the value of the brand that's on the balance sheet. That's what I think marketers should be focused on growing, not necessarily driving revenue. Everyone in the company is responsible for driving revenue in many ways. And I don't think it's wrong for marketers to want to take that seat at the table, but I feel like they're going down a misleading path by feeling that, we're going to spend X hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on this map, and we're going to run X, Y, and Z campaigns, and that's going to equal this growth in revenue. I don't know. It could be a fool's errand.
Do you think they'll keep their seat at the table if they don't do something that looks like that, though?
Well, if you're, yeah, I mean, I think the marketer's seat at the table should be increasing the value of the brand, right? And that in and of itself is, in my opinion, just as great as, if not greater than, revenue. Because your revenue is going to happen in a cyclical nature. It's going to happen in different cycles. There are going to be different product innovations that cause and drive more revenue. Demand in market's going to change. Your brand can last and stay strong through lots of things if it's properly appreciated and done right. And you take a brand first approach to marketing.
True. So yeah, unless you're a startup and you're just running one Google ad and you only have that one reference tying and that goes clear through your website through a checkout, there's no other way. There's so many other factors that are involved. We talked earlier about, back in February, Nike just launched their new Air Jordans on Snapchat and they sold out in minutes. But does that happen if you don't have the earlier Nike campaigns? If Nike doesn't already have that brand, you can't tie 100% of that revenue to an Instagram campaign now on $1 billion brand. It just doesn't.
Correct.
It doesn't work that way.
And it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be doing these campaigns, and it doesn't mean they shouldn't be maintaining the integrity of the transaction, so to speak. If it doesn't mean they shouldn't be promoting and pushing and making it easier and creating a better user experience. But that really all should go back to creating a better relationship that the consumer has with the brand.
Right. Yeah, it's building your audience and really getting to know them. So everything's marketing now. So marketing is going to control customer service. It's going to be part of sales. It's all those community audience touch points. Right. So that's always going to have a value, but it's essentially invaluable. You can't really put a price on that because it's always going to, influence it one way or the other.
Yeah. And so in this study, it comes back to, well, at the end of the day, we aren't getting the analytics that we want, and we're not getting the data we want, and we can't seem to connect this back to revenue and conversions. There are probably specific examples of where marketing campaigns can more closely be connected to revenues. But there are probably a lot of those marketers where, well, is that really should that be your primary KPI? Mm-hmm. Should that be what you're truly focused on? And they also talk about bad data in the study, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes good data, and data management are required for the campaigns, and that's not very surprising to anybody. I think it's getting people that are going to actually be responsible for that data and responsible for that management is where most of the people in the survey were between 50 and 1,000 employees, and that's where you're going to struggle on a resource management time. So the smaller companies, at a 50 or 60 size company, 60 people, is really going to struggle to have the resources to run the marketing that MAP program, to run the data, to take good care of this, to run all the other programs that are expected with this solution.
And that's that's another confounding, that's another thing
Right.
that goes into those confounding factors is your data is never going to be great. And I think a lot of MarTech vendors have misled the marketing world, and it's still a $25 billion industry, growing 12.5% annually. Marketers are clearly still putting this at the top of MarTech at the top of their prioritization, and it's certainly getting the lion's share of their budget. But as we talk a lot about on Wilson Bridge, are MarTech vendors misleading marketers? Are they saying, out of the box or just with a little bit of customization, this is going to do your job. This is going to multi-user experience way of touching customers and personalizing your message to those customers and doing all of this magic, when they can also turn around and go, well, we're not responsible for the data.
Yeah.
You get what you put in, right?
Yeah.
And the cost to getting to the right data can be a real mountain to climb. Again, my main thing is okay, so are we getting distracted from brand first marketing, understanding the personality of your customers and what compels them to your brand and the value of your brand and the real asset that you can create a return on, the goodwill on the balance sheet of the value of your name. And that can stand the test of time as your industry evolves and changes.
Yeah, and it won't matter so much the solution, but the MarTech vendors really do have to watch their step, because one of the key findings was the more experience that the marketer had, the more disillusioned they were with it. And on top of that, of the people that are dissatisfied with the solution, over the majority are so they're likely to switch in the next 18 months. And it's going to be more of the same. Like we said, if it's not the brand, switching to all the top 5, top 6 marketing maps are pretty similar in what they do. So switching is going to be a big cost, and it's probably, if you're looking at everybody's dissatisfied with it, really not going to net that much of a change.
Why do you think the more senior marketers are dissatisfied?
I think they're looking for the attribution. So if you're less senior, you're just getting to the point where they're, hey, the email works. Hey, I have these marketing metrics. Hey, isn't this great? They're not sitting at the table yet. The more senior marketers probably don't even log into the system. They're looking for reports. They're not getting the information they asked for. They're not getting what the people who are actually using the system promised they were going to get, while the person, tactically is working through their solutions. And the day-to-day, from their perspective, because they're not reporting on revenue, they think it works fine.
Well, and is this a situation where marketers have signed up for something that they're really not ready yet? Because for the last 5 years, 2011, there were, a couple hundred MarTech vendors. Now there are almost probably 6,000, maybe
plus.
more. Now people are paying attention. Leadership in the company is paying attention to the amount of money that's being spent on these platforms. Right. And now I know MarTech vendors are starting to feel the heat. So it's like we've had these ready and going for many years, and we're not seeing the return. Maybe there's a measurement problem. Maybe there's a data problem. So it's a great topic. But that's all the time we have today. And we appreciate you listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.